In the beginning, man and woman were created. It is the same for us all, but is our ending the same? Some of us die peacefully, yet others die in violence, leaving tragedy and pain in the space where we once lived. We have no choice. Lying next to each other as infants in a maternity ward, we are oblivious to the possibility that among our tiny neighbors is a killer who will someday bring an untimely end to a precious life. And some of us will become murdered.
Welcome to the Donna Thorne panel discussion. I'm Donna Thorne, and we have a very unusual subject for today, which deals with the silent segment of our American population known as parents of murdered children. I'm only one of those parents. Seated with me are other victims of violence. I'll let them introduce themselves and tell you how they got to be that way. First, my co-host today, Richard Angarola.
Thank you, Donna. I became associated with parents of murdered children in a most unusual way. After my son was brutally gunned down, we searched for answers, and of course there were none. And I went to the district attorney seeking help. He gave me a list of many support groups, and among them was Parents of Murdered Children. And I remembered that Doris Tate, who was the mother of a very dear friend of mine that I made a motion picture with, Valley of the Dolls, Sharon Tate. Doris Tate was head of Parents of Murdered Children, and I called her right away. And as busy as she was, she found time to listen and be supportive and invited me to meetings. Of course, those first meetings were very emotional. And I found out later that there was another group called COVER, Coalition of Victims' Equal Rights. But we'll talk more about that later. I have seated next to me a lovely lady who suffered a terrible tragedy, and her murderer has not been found yet. This is Mrs. Inger Rotenberg.
I'm the mother of 5 beautiful children. My youngest child, 28-year-old Kenneth Clement Sorensen, was brutally murdered in Yosemite National Forest. He was pushed from Bridal Veil Falls 620 feet to a brutal death below. There's a total cover-up, and I'm still searching and hoping that this will be cleared.
Next we have Mrs. Bernice Cross, who has an equally tragic story to tell.
My daughter, Bernice Elaine Cross, 42, was, according to the LA Police Department, picked up at 5 p.m. on August 24th, 1989, for being intoxicated. She died at 1:10 a.m. August the 25th, 1989, while in the backseat of the police car or on the parking lot of Parker Center. 3 weeks later, I was told on 9/16/89 that she was dead.
Yes, go ahead, dear.
3 months later, the LAPD and the coroner stated that she died of streptococcal pneumonia. I guess I got some.
I haven't shown a picture of my son, Anthony. I am, if you can put it that way, more fortunate than these other ladies because with the help of Detectives Hernandez and Medina, we caught the killer 6 months later, and both of them are in jail now, so I won't say too much about it because we're pending trial. Now we'd like to hear from Donna herself concerning her case.
This is something that Valley College did on my daughter while we were doing the reenactment at Ion LA. And we're fixing to show the segment of that now. This is the write-up that was done while I was taking electronics at Valley College. And it's a picture of the guy that murdered my daughter at the bottom and the guy that she was with also that night. She was the innocent victim of a violent crime, shot 3-4 times in the heart.
Solving a case means knowing who did the crime. Closing a case means capturing them, too. Too often, cases remain with us for a few months and then are easily forgotten. Now, with your help, the man who killed Marie Thorne, an aspiring actress, can be caught and her case closed.
The suspect in this case, Greg Smith, is an extremely dangerous killer.
It wasn't an accident. It wasn't a disease that killed her. It was by another person.
We've got him implicated on at least 3, maybe more, other killings. She didn't know him, he didn't know her, he just killed her. This guy is one of the worst. This guy is bad and a wanted.
She loved people, and she never thought that anyone could hurt her. I tried to tell her that everybody's not her friend. She would always say, "Mama, be positive, be positive."
The murder of Marie Thorne is not closed. Long after she was buried, her killer is still at large, unpunished and able to kill again. What happened to Marie Thorne reads like another script from a Hollywood drama.
Marie Thorne liked to go to these different clubs that it would have a particular entertainment night. On this particular night, April 25th, they were having one at Carlos and Charlie's. That's out on the Sunset Strip. At these different events, a lot of people from show business show up. She would like to go to things because she was kind of an aspiring bit actress and wanted to get into the movies and meet some of the high-powered people.
So why did y'all leave me? Why did you do that?
She got in the car with this gentleman in his nice Mercedes, and they drove off down Sunset Boulevard. Everything was fine. Unbeknownst to them, they're being followed. Greg Smith pulls up in front of them in his BMW. He gets out, walks back to the passenger side of the Mercedes, the windows down. Marie Thorne doesn't know this guy. She doesn't know what's going on. All of a sudden, he starts a heated argument with the guy she's with about a money owed on an old dope deal.
You know what's up. What are you talking about?
Talking about the money you owe me, man.
What money?
The money you ripped off.
Man, can't we talk about this tomorrow?
No, we're gonna talk about it right now.
Oh, God, no!
The sad part here is that Marie died instantly, and the driver of the car, who is apparently involved in narcotics, lives. It's a classic example of being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
It was sort of like she lived in an imaginary world. I guess we all do at some point in order to make our dreams come true. All that glitters is not gold.
Greg Smith.
One of the most difficult things, I guess we all agree, about being the parent of a murdered child is learning how to communicate with law officers in the courts. I'd like to hear from Zell Lossoff, a beautiful lady who for 16 years has dedicated her life to proving that her son was not a suicide, but a murdered victim. A brilliant young doctor. Zell Lossoff. Tell us something, Zell.
I'm the mother of Dr. Ted Lossoff, an orthopedic surgeon from Hancock area. Because his body was found in a garage, the police that evening did not take fingerprints, homicide investigation. And because the police neglected to do everything necessary, the deputy coroner did not do a toxology, an autopsy, or any investigation. The result, he was embalmed and buried. And it became my job to find out how my son died. It took 2 years for me to go door to door looking for witnesses at the scene. It took 2 more years to get a court order to have his body exhumed and have his body cut to pieces with a private autopsy, since none was done. Dr. Ruth, the forensic pathologist, said this wasn't an isolated case. There are many cases like this that are buried wrongfully, and it becomes our job as a parent to find out how our children died.
Thank you, Zal. What about you, ladies? What has your experience been with your communicating with law enforcement? Let's hear from you, Bernice.
Well, I had a runaround experience. I contacted the police department. They told me to contact the police department. They told me to contact the coroner's office, and then I contacted the coroner's office, and they told me to call somebody else, and then they sent me back to the police department. I contacted mayors, and I just keep going around and around in circles. And then one police officer said to me that, did you give them any problems, you know? And then I contacted the Internal Revenue at the commissioner, who said that he didn't even, an internal investigation had been done, and he told me that he was going to call me Tuesday, that following Tuesday, and to this date he hasn't called me yet.
But you didn't hear from the coroner's office, huh?
I contacted the coroner's office from September 1689 through October 31st, 89. He called me around the 30th or the 31st to tell me my daughter died of streptococcal pneumonia.
In the back of a police car?
He didn't say where, though.
Oh.
See, what the police told me, she died either in the back seat of the police car or on the parking lot center, and they picked her up at August, you know, the 25th, 24th, and then she died at 1. Where was she for 8 hours? Where did they take her?
Somebody knows.
3 area police departments are involved. Now, why would there be 3 area police departments involved?
So we still have to
and
find
it doesn't
out the
take
answer.
3 months before they tell me she died of streptococcal pneumonia.
Inga?
Yes, it has been a rough 3.5 years for me. There was no investigation whatsoever, no questions asked, and eventually I had to investigate the entire case myself, including climbing to the top of Bridal Veil Falls, where I found that it is impossible to fall down. There is a natural wall on top of the falls, and you just can't fall down. It is at least 3-4 feet tall, and it is at least 3 feet wide. And my son never fell down by accident. My son was pushed down. I've got all the details. I know who did it. I know who is involved. But it was very, very difficult. The park would have no connection with us. My calls were never returned. We could not find out what happened. And there's still a cover-up. There is really not an investigation going.
So do you have the support of the whole group of parents of murdered children and everything else
God
to make
bless,
sure you get answers?
God bless parents of murdered children.
That brings us to our next subject, which is the coroner's inquests and the difficulty that people have getting correct answers from coroner's office. We had the privilege, as you all remember, of having a very, very famous forensic pathologist, Dr. Root, address us at the last meeting. He spoke to us as though we were victims. We have a little segment of that meeting right now. We'd like to share it with the public.
I'd like to introduce you, Dr. Root, and to our little group. And I don't think that you could say anything that's going to shock us, okay? Because we've been through some pretty horrible times, you know?
Sounds like it. I wish I could bring you some good news. I think you're not going to be terribly happy. I'm not. I'm going to talk about forensic pathology, which is in effect a medical investigation of the problems that you have been through. I am a forensic pathologist. I'm often asked when I go to court to testify, well, are you a real doctor? Do you deal with living people?
I would like to know, they know who the guy is that murdered my daughter. Why they're not making an effort to get him?
I suppose not everyone knows that it is the duty of the coroner's office to test all parts of the body, including the blood, the urine, brain tissue, all of that. But it isn't always done. Matter of fact, my son's body was missing for 7 days, and they thought it was kind of funny. Eventually, I was able to get a hold of a coroner's report